Okay, hello everyone. Hi, my name is Nasi. I am the host of today's discussion for Jablká and Pears. We are here to talk about the process of integration in the city of Bratislava with our two guests today. And today's discussion will be in English with like a sprinkle of Slovak. And before we begin, I'd like to thank our organizers and sponsors. Série, diskusia, Jablká Pears sme mohli pripraviť vďaka projektu Kapacity, ktorý je spolufinancovaný Európskej únii z Fondu pre azyl / migrácia a integrácia. Snažíme sa v rámci tohto celoročného Fusion Festivalu rozširovať aktivity do iných miest ako Bratislava, takže tešíme sa, že ste tu, tešíme sa, že ste prišli. So let's get also started on the discussion. I should probably give a quick introduction on who I am. So I'm Nasi. I'm an Iranian comedian and I've been living in Slovakia for the last 10 years. And I studied, I went to high school and university here, and I'm currently working for a corporation. How about you ladies? Would you care to introduce yourselves very quickly? Just tell us like where you're from, where you live, and how old you are, or where do you work?
Salma, you or me?
Okay. It should be in English or in Slovak?
English. You can do it in English.
Okay, so my name is Salma. I'm 20 years old. I'm half Slovakian, half Yemeni. Like my dad is from Yemen and my mom is from Slovakia. And I was born here in Košice.
Mm-hmm.
I lived there for 8 years and then we moved to Yemen. I have been there for 10 years and I just came back to Slovakia, to Bratislava especially, before 3 years or 2 years and a half. And I'm studying here now, high school, and I guess that's it.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Randi, and I am from the US. I came here 3.5 years ago to teach. So I'm a literature teacher, and I also work for an organization called the Navigators, and then I work in Baraka, which is a residential living community. And I'm 26.
Okay. Hello, welcome ladies, welcome. Happy to have you here. So if I may ask, how did you guys know each other? Where did you meet? Did you meet in Bratislava?
Yes, so I'm a teacher at the high school that Salma attends.
Okay.
And we are neighbors and we're living now under the same roof.
That's really cool. Okay. And you guys, so that means you guys have known each other for 3.5 years? The 3 years that you've been living in Bratislava?
2 years and a half. Mm-hmm.
Salma, I probably met you maybe a year into me being here. Maybe I beat you by 1 year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's a competition to know who's here longer. So would you guys say that you approximately, let's say you lived the same duration in Bratislava, what would you say your first impression of Bratislava was? Randy, you can go first.
Well, I guess my first experiences with Bratislava were in the old town in Mestá. So when I came, I came first for some summer camps before I moved, and I remember we would always go and with some students up to the castle and look over at Motlagh Jablká. And I remember a guy telling me one time, "Oh, that's the concrete jungle." So I had a sense of like Bratislava sort of being like a city split in half. Mm-hmm. Now I know it's a lot bigger than that, but yeah, I was kind of mystified by like this. At least I'm very interested in architecture, and so I guess the kind of the mishmash of architecture just really intrigued me.
Yeah.
So that and I guess with the way that architecture works is typically connected to history, and so yeah, I guess that was my first impression. And then when I moved, well, I had never lived in Europe before, so I guess I was really enjoying the walkability of a European city. That's one thing that we really have in the US. You have to take a car everywhere, and so I love walking places and having like the public transportation is pretty incredible. So yeah, I guess those were my first impressions.
And what about you, Salma? You said that you were born in Košice, so you were a východňarka.
Yes, kind of. Actually, I was thinking about Bratislava. It's like a big city where you can get lost, and like every member of my family was like telling this to me. And I was like afraid how we'll like get used to live in Bratislava. But like actually I lived in the capital city of Yemen, in Sana'a, and there's like 5 million people in that city. So and afterwards after some months I discovered that Bratislava is so small, and it's just a small village, and you cannot get lost here. So, and actually when I firstly arrived to Bratislava, it was autobusová stanica.
Oh, that's not a beautiful entrance. Oh my God.
I guess it's better than the train station.
It is now, definitely. Like I would say even the temporary bus station, let's say, which is autobusová stanica, is like 10 times better than the like previous one. And the train station is also just, it really feels like you traveled back in time, or you just traveled to another dimension of like really miserable looking area, which is like, that's not what Bratislava is, but that leaves a terrible first impression. So I completely agree with you there. And also, Randy, you mentioned walkability, and I'm also from a big city. I'm from Tehran, which has a population of like 16 million people, and like the idea of walking anywhere was really just, it's fairy tales, you know. It's always like, I always assumed that it was for villages or smaller areas, that's where people walk. But here, whenever, for example, I would suggest to go anywhere by taxi or by bus, my friends would get mad. They'd be like, it's just like a 20-minute walk, you don't have to do that, you don't have to like do this to yourself, why would you pay money when you can do it for free, you know? So, and you guys, did you have to take care of any administrative aspects of your residency here in Bratislava? Randy, I'm sure you did. Like you had to go through the foreign police first, right?
I was gonna say, is she asking about the foreign police?
It is. It's always the foreign.
It was a big topic, and also in our school that Randy was in front of like police station waiting for some papers.
Yeah. I had a run-in with the foreign police, I guess.
A run-in.
Yeah, it's quite an experience. When I first came here, they were at the older facility in Petrožačka, and the school handled the organization of the paperwork, in the sense of like they collected the documents, they had it translated for me. But when I was trying to get in 2017, they were just really, really booked out. And yeah, so I went like 5 days in a row. I spent a couple nights in front of the building, met one of my best friends there. So it's a wonderful place to meet friends. Saw more diversity there than anywhere else in Bratislava, so there's that. Very true. But yeah, it ended up so I couldn't get in. It was like a disaster. I was like, okay, well, I just started this teaching job. I'd come in the summer, and because we had just had a new president, and everything was backed up. We have to get like an FBI background check. And mine was supposed to come months earlier, and it was delayed. And so, anyways, all the paperwork was delayed. I had like a week left, and on my visa, and so I was like, okay, so either I get it now and I get my paperwork in, or I have to, I guess, leave. And so, anyways, the school that I work at had some connections, I guess, to like media, and so they publicized it, and then students came and like spent the night with me. It was like the fifth day and the third night that you might have heard of it. It was quite publicized. So there's a great video of me crying on TV somewhere. Such a humiliating way. but you know, that's life. Sometimes things are not as easy as you hoped they would be.
No, but I'd like to hear more about how your students reacted. Salma, how would you say the environment was like in school when they found out that this is how immigrants are being treated?
Actually, when I came to my school, it happened before I came, actually. So I just saw the video, but I saw that like the students were really like open to like spend their night with Randi outside. I think like the reaction of the students, I guess Randi can say more because I actually wasn't there
right
at that time.
But like the openness, as you mentioned, I think it's also maybe the newer generation of Slovaks are a lot more concerned about the way things are proceeding with immigrants. That's also the overall reaction that I get, because whenever I would post something on social media complaining about like the way administrative things are being handled, it was always the younger generations of Slovaks coming in to like complain with me and show me empathy and everything. So I would say that it's the idea that, you know, the younger Slovaks, they want to make some change happen. And Randi, you saw that happen IRL, in real life. You like had the students camp out with you. Did you guys have like tea or coffee with you?
Yeah, it was a bit of a party. We ordered pizza.
Wow.
Some guy was coming from a music lesson, and he had a giant stand-up bass.
Wow.
And yeah, they had a boombox. And that particular evening, some Ukrainian mafia guys, at least I'm assuming they were there, kind of pushing people around a little bit. But because of the cameras, they kind of left me alone. That was the problem the nights before was, you know, the mysterious list that shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Where you get your name on the list and blah blah blah, and then somehow like 20 other people actually got in front of you. Yeah, so they were being observed quite, or they were conscious of being observed, so they were pretty chilled out that evening. Yeah,
and all the students that came, were they also Slovak, or were there also international students showing support?
I mean, the school primarily has Slovak students, but also my colleagues were coming, and yeah,
that is fantastic. I mean, it's not.
Yeah,
in many ways, it's not fantastic.
It was quite a humbling situation. I felt really helpless, which I think that's just by nature of being an immigrant. Like, you go to a place, you're a bit uncertain about the way things work.
Yeah.
But it was a beautiful moment in terms of just how, despite not being here very long and being so new to the job, and yeah, they just really kind of stood by me and helped me, and it was a beautiful moment.
I mean, I think that was it. Like, we thank you for having gone through that embarrassing moment. But you really sparked this series of events that eventually led to the foreign police being in Rijeka right now, which is, you know, not even Bratislava anymore, but it's a lot more organized. There are more offices and people are being taken care of like 10 times better than before. I remember because I moved here 10 years ago, and it really was like every year I would have to mentally prepare myself for going to the foreign police. Like I'd have to like have a spa day 5 days before and just, you know, be all zen before going there. But now it's gotten a lot better, and the relationship that I have with the foreign police has improved as well. But the thing is, there's also like a concept of like perception. Salma, you said that you spent most of your, I would say half of your life in Yemen, right? Like you were in another country for 10 years, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And you said that when you came back here like 3 years ago, was it difficult for you to feel fully Slovak and back at home, or to integrate into Bratislava as like a Slovak?
I think it was much more easier than I expected, I guess, because like I can speak Slovak, and you cannot hear like some accent when I'm speaking Slovak. And actually, kind of, I know how the Slovak people work or how they react in different situations. And I was afraid, because all of the things around like European are against immigrants, and I don't think this all blah blah things. I was afraid, but actually, maybe it's because it's Bratislava. Maybe if I was somewhere, I don't know, in some small village, it would be not like this. But kind of, it was very interesting because when I was a child, I was coming to like summer holiday to Slovakia, and it was different, and because I was small and I was not like thinking about some things, but now I'm getting getting older, okay. But
Don't say that in front of us, please.
And I'm like seeing some different things from another perspective, and I can realize like what's the difference between like Yemeni people and Slovak people, the differences between the cultures. And sometimes it's hard to just be in this like European system that you should work, and there's like not that much of like you came from Iran, so you can know that we are more socially than we. Yeah, so that is, I think, the worst thing here.
Yeah, it's cultural, definitely.
Yeah.
It's but the thing is, you are, as you said, you also spoke Slovak and you kind of understand Slovak mentality, so it wasn't completely out of the blue for you to come back and live here. But as you said, it also takes some time to adjust. And now, like, how would you say people react to when they find out that you're not fully Slovak? Like when you say that, like, úplná Slovenka.
I actually, like, when somebody asks me like from where you are, I reply, I'm Slovakian. They were like, no, you are not. And I was like, okay, I'm half Slovak. Maybe they're surprised when they hear me speaking Slovak. But maybe I'm living in some bubbles where people are like not somehow they're just accepting me like who I am. So I think that I'm not confronted with people that are very like, I don't know, this like Slovak thinking, like when somebody is not the same as me is bad, and I'm moving into bubbles that are like very satisfied, I guess, and they don't have a very big problems with me.
Takže ide o tej prvej predstave, že čo si ľudia o teba majú, ako majú predstavu, hej, lebo ja keď začnem rozprávať po slovensky, tiež sú akože trochu z toho šoku, že ale ty máš rodičia Slovákov, hej? Alebo mamina, tatino? A ja, že nie, ja som čistá Iránka, som z Iránu a bývam na Slovensku 10 rokov a tak to hovorím. Like it's always about other people's perception.
Yeah, no, but like when they know that my mom is from Slovakia, they like actually connected, like, okay, it's
okay. We'll accept it for now.
yeah. Some people like were thinking that I'm married to some Muslim and I converted because of him.
No.
Yeah, but when they like discovered that my mom is Slovakia and I was born here, they like they're like, okay, you should know Slovak, like.
Môže byť.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll accept this for now. I love that. I love that kind of mentality. And okay, and Randi, you teach. Do you teach directly to Salma, or do you guys just know each other from school?
We just know each other from school, so Salma has never actually been my student.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
I know, it's a shame. It would be fun. I do teach her year though, just a different group.
And is there any, like, would you say that the attitude of your students and your school is different towards you, unlike people like Salma? Like, do people treat her differently versus you because you guys are from different backgrounds, but you still live here?
At the school?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think the school's pretty inclusive and welcoming place. I think it's their strong suit.
I mean, I think it's really important to also be surrounded by the right kind of people, so that your experience living in a city is like 10 times better in a way. Like, if you are surrounded by an accepting bubble, as Salma mentioned, then it's not really difficult for you to experience also something negative in terms of like discrimination and, you know, like stereotypes. So it's good that you guys have that kind of school and that kind of working environment. And so what would you say is your least favorite thing about Bratislava then?
It's not that multicultural.
Okay. I agree with you. Yes. It isn't that multicultural, and everybody's like, oh my god, it's such a metropolitan.
Because it's the biggest city in Slovakia, so what do you think?
Yeah.
It's still more multicultural than other cities, but that doesn't mean that like we should just keep the standards low like for multicultural. But I think it's also at this point it's also maybe one of my favorite things about Bratislava, because I'm becoming less and less relevant because I'm not the only foreigner here anymore. Like back in the day, like 10 years ago, I was like a rare gem, but now I'm like more common, and it's getting to my nerves. Obviously I'm joking, but you made a very good point that it's not entirely multicultural. So every time somebody encounters Salma, for example, they can be like, what are you? What is this? Where are you from? How do you exist on the same place as I do? What about you, Randi? What would you say is your least favorite thing about Bratislava?
That actually, that might be it as well.
Yeah.
I miss hearing different languages. I miss having friends from different countries and cultures. And I think I'm very blessed. Like I have people from different countries in my life here. But it is something I treasure. I feel like it's more of an exception than the norm, to have some people, you know, who maybe are from like a different culture.
Yeah, I think would you say that it's beneficial for a city to have multiple cultures?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, even down to something as kind of silly as having different foods. Like I love being in these.
That's very serious. It's serious.
Is. Food is very important. But yeah, like if you go to LA, every neighborhood's different, and has like kind of the flavors of the cultures that inhabit that neighborhood. And I just think it's so dope to have like to have kind of people bringing who they are and owning it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I don't like about
I think like the idea that multiculti is good or beneficial can also come from the fact that like people will mutually respect each other nonetheless, like regardless of where they're from and everything. That means like the discrimination doesn't go from like, oh, I'm gonna like be really kind and loving towards Western immigrants, but when it comes to the Eastern immigrants, I'm just gonna ignore them and pretend like they're not there. It's just like you just have to have this kind of attitude towards everyone, and then also including the Slovaks. And I think that's what makes multiculti like really beautiful and really powerful too, especially with the cuisine, as you said. Like, oh god, the food. And what about you, Salma? What would you say that like the Yemen was maybe more multicultural than Bratislava?
I don't think so. Actually, like before the war, I guess yes, there's a lot of tourists, but because of the war and because of the problems that they have there, they're not that not that tourist. And actually, like when you're walking in the street, you mostly can see the Yemeni people, not the tourist or the European people, but actually they like in different. Yemen was where I compared Yemen with Slovakia. Yemen was more open to people who were different from them. They were very welcoming, and they will do anything for them. Like my mom was European, so I had a real experience from that. And in Slovakia, it's just like I feel that they're not open or not welcoming for different people.
It's just I think with Slovaks it takes a much longer time in comparison to the Middle East for people to open up, because like in the Middle East people will like, you know, offer you their home, their food, and their like firstborn child before knowing your name. Like that's like we're overly friendly sometimes. But with Slovakia, I think also because of like the historical background with socialism and different waves of communism and like the wars, I think it's just, it takes them a while to defrost and like open up. And all it takes is a couple shots of alcohol, honestly. But I still think that the multiculti aspect of Bratislava is not entirely dead, but it can be improved. What would you guys say can improve that like element in Bratislava, the element of multiculti? What would you say would be a good way to help make Bratislava more open?
I think, I mean, in probably an obvious statement, I think just people from different places moving here and people kind of getting used to it, or yeah, people in the city making friends with people who aren't Slovak. I think that relationships are probably a starting point for a lot of that.
What would be a good case or situation in which you can like befriend people? Is it language exchanges? Is it concerts? Is it like, what would you say is most or would you say like the foreign police is the best place to meet?
I was gonna say, aside from the foreign police, it really is a great place to make friends. I think
honestly, if it wasn't such a stressful situation, I would have made a ton of friends with the foreign police. I'm always on such edge when I'm there. But yeah, also true.
A little bit of panic brings people together. I don't know. I feel like one of the cool things that I don't know, Bratislava has is kind of this sporty thing it has going on. So I don't know. I feel like sports are a way. Slovaks are naturally, at least from my perception, they seem very naturally athletically inclined.
They really are. It's insane.
It's like the sun is out, we must put on hiking gear and take to the mountains, or wear some nerdy biking outfit and drive off into the hills. or volleyball, or yeah, I just feel like all of my friends here, even if they're not very athletic, they're doing something. So maybe integrating that with something about team spirit, I think brings people together.
What about you, Salma? Would you agree that Slovaks are sporty?
Yeah, maybe I'm the less person that do some sports in my class, so I will agree with that. But I think also in this case, like I think education, like in level of teenagers, are very important, like to be mixed with different cultures and different people. And I think like the Slovak schools are actually not ready for this. Like even some teachers are like telling the students like they are bad, don't talk with them, or some they even I think even the historic classes should be more about like I don't know if we have the topic of Ottoman Empire, we should like make it like not remark them as they are bad or something. Like I think that the education in Slovakia should like lead to that, because I guess it's very important to build something from young age to anyone.
I totally agree with the fact that not only should we do more for the younger kids, at least for students, maybe we could come up with more exchange events with other countries, like even with Austria or Hungary or Czech Republic, where they get to meet like at least students from neighboring countries, and then like possibly maybe other European countries, maybe non-European countries. So that would be a great program to fund and to look into, and also to maybe try and be more objective when it comes to talking about the influence of other countries on Slovakia. But that's a little bit more difficult to achieve.
Yeah, that's right, of course.
But you are right in the sense that like objectivity can always bring a little less hostility to the situation. And also, Randi, I completely agree with the fact that like sporting events that would be more inclusive to foreigners can also like help create a situation in which where the foreigners can like start to fall in love with Bratislava. But it is kind of a culture shock when you first move here and you're not from here, and everybody's like, the sun is out, we need to hike, we need to bike, we need to picnic, we need to go swimming, and it's like it's still like 3 degrees. Like where are you going? Well, yeah, that's probably one of the best ways that we can like improve our relationship with Bratislava. How would you rate Bratislava as a city during the pandemic? What would you say could be better? What was good and what was bad? Like how do we perceive COVID-19 Bratislava?
I would say there's a lot of green spaces. So that's one thing I think that helps. Yeah, in terms of just when you're stuck inside. But Selma and I, we live in Petržalka. There's quite a lot of people. And yeah, I think the green spaces are good, but there's still a sense of like being quite closed in due to the strictness of the restrictions.
It's okay, you can criticize the restrictions. Everyone does it.
Yeah.
Even the Slovaks.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. Selma, what do you think? I would say I have quite a lot of friends in the city who are really struggling just with kind of this emotional toll of isolation. Yeah, and I feel very blessed to be in Baraka, which is a dormitory, and there's people around. But even still, I quite miss my friends.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's so much a matter of the city, but it makes me wonder if it's just the mentality of, okay, we're in a pandemic, let's stay home and be responsible, or if there's a way, or if because of the kind of strictness of the restrictions, people are feeling uncomfortable even like leaving their houses to take advantage of like the green spaces.
But there are green spaces in your area, as you mentioned, right?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, we have like a little forest behind the school, which is great.
That is really nice.
Selma, what about you?
Like Bratislava in the pandemic, I think in Bratislava are the people more responsible. Like they're not. Like, I can see when I go out that there are still people who don't wear masks, but I think Bratislava's people are more responsible than the other. For example, in middle of Slovakia, I have there my grandparents, and it was a very like hard to walk outside, and the people were very irresponsible. Like the thing is that, as Randy said and mentioned, that Slovak people really love to do sports, and Bratislava it's still a city.
Yeah.
And for me, it's really enough that we have the forest here, and like I really enjoy to go to the old town, not to the forest. So for me, I think, and also living in Baraka, I think I'm doing pretty well. Like Bratislava plus the COVID, it's a very benefit for like a big benefit for me to live in Bratislava during the pandemic. And I think there's still like places that I can go. You have a lot of like takeaway coffee shops or in the old town. So I think it's a good city to live during the pandemic.
I mean, I agree with you both that it's at least it has green spaces, which a lot of big cities don't have. Technically, Bratislava is not even that big. But it's charmingly sized, so we don't complain that much. But the idea that it could be a little bit more like progressive in the sense that we could have better biking lanes, it could have like the idea that there are like a lot of coffee shops in Old Town, and then like as you go like outside of Old Town, it becomes suddenly like kind of like desolate, and it's like you don't see that many coffee shops or that many like cute little places. So maybe we can also expand on that in a way so that the feeling that you're still connected to the city even though there's a pandemic going on can like stay strong and everything. But I really like the things that you guys mentioned because I think it can actually help improve Bratislava's situation. Even post-pandemic, I think we'll be able to improve the situation here. And or if you have any final thoughts on what it meant for you to find a relationship with this place as a foreigner and a Slovak, what would you say? Like, what would you recommend to other people who are moving here? When they move here, what would you say to them? Like, hey, bring your tissues, or like, learn to walk. What would you give them as advice?
I just got a library card, so I'm very excited about that. So maybe take advantage of the library. I don't know why it took me so long, but the lady was so nice, and I can't go inside yet, but one day I will, and I'm looking forward to that.
Soon, very soon.
Soon. And drink lots of coffee. I think that's one of the best ways to, I don't know, be in Bratislava. Take a coffee and just walk around. I love it.
It is really like it's odd because like, for example, when I went back to Tehran, I realized I can't do that anymore. Like I can't just casually take coffee and walk around the city because there's so many people and like there's air pollution and traffic and everything. But here, like you can take a coffee, walk around with your friends and talk for hours. So that's great advice. Completely agree with that one. What about you, Salma? What would you give as advice to people who are about to move in here?
Okay. Of course, try yeme bread and yeme coffee. And also with the coffee, try every coffee shop in Bratislava. Just take that food, take that coffee. Try also La Dunateria and just go to the old bridge. It's I don't know if the new people will know, Stari Most. Yeah. and just sit there and watch Bratislava. It's
Nice.
it's the best activity to do it, I guess, in Bratislava. Well, of course for me. So, and make an account in Slovak Bike.
Oh my God. Oh yes. I should do that also. But I'm currently living in Stupava, and because of the lockdown, I really don't travel to Bratislava as much. But before lockdown, I was more in Bratislava than I was in Stupava. So this is it's great advice. Thank you both very much for coming to the discussion, or at least showing up virtually. We're very thankful. Chcela som aj viac rozprávať po slovensky, ale nepodarilo sa.
Nevadí.
Dúfam, že do budúcna môžeme to aj zopakovať, možno v slovenčine, ale myslím, že toto bola krásna. Toto, že ani vôbec netrebalo, aby sme akože vymenili do slovenčiny. Thank you guys for coming here. Thank you for talking about your experiences. I'm so glad to have spoken with a famous foreigner. And I'm so glad to have spoken with a true Slovak who's not even completely Slovak. I was very happy to have you here. I hope to see you guys in Bratislava with a whole bunch of coffee and some jeme bread. Thank you for coming, and goodbye for now.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.